Hello everyone, welcome to the Tour Guide Service Skills class. The content we are going to learn today is the tour guide explanation of famous scenic spots. Famous scenic areas are beautiful and renowned places with a long history and profound cultural accumulation. The tour guide's explanation covers a wide range and has a high cultural content, and often relates to the buildings, so it is indeed not easy to explain well. The tour guides can follow the type of famous sceneries to grasp the guiding skills. Museums, especially comprehensive museums, often have rich collections and very large exhibition hall areas. During the process of tour guiding, the following several points should be paid attention to. First, be well aware of the content displayed in the exhibition hall. Tour guides need to have a detailed understanding of the characteristics and each content displayed in the exhibition hall and their status and value in the entire display content, so that within the limited time, they can lead the tourists to appreciate the most representative contents in the museum. Secondly, possess relevant professional knowledge. Because the exhibited contents of the museum have strong professionalism and knowledge, tourists cannot have an in-depth understanding and recognition of it just by touring with their own knowledge background. This also shows from one side the significance of the museum tour guides. Museum tour guides should possess relevant professional knowledge. In this way, when facing professional cultural relics, they can know not only what it is, but also why it is. Otherwise, the explanation content can only be on the surface, and the role of museum in inheriting civilization and spreading culture cannot be realized. Thirdly, explanation needs to be targeted. The professionalism and knowledge of the museum content requires the explanation of the tour guides to have extremely strong professionalism. However, it is also necessary to take into account the specific situation of the tourists to avoid reducing their interest in visiting the museum. The professional knowledge background of tourists is generally limited. When the tour guides explain, they should focus on being simple and easy to understand and explaining in a simple and understandable way. Let's try to explain the Asian coins in the museum together. The coin that you all see here, we refer to it as pattern coin. So, what is a pattern coin? That is to say, before forging the coins, the sample of a coin would be made by the craftsman first, which is mainly used for sending for review. This involves the forging process of Asian coins. After waiting for the pattern coin to be approved after being submitted for review, it will be used first to make the Moor mold. The Moor mold will be divided into upper and lower two pieces. After the Moor mold is made, it is then used to make the fan norms. The fan norms is used for casting coins. Now we see model refers to the meaning of example, but at the earliest, the Moor and fan were just nouns for forging. There can be one Moor mold, and many fan norms can be produced. After forging, the fan will be destroyed and can only be used once. The ancient pattern coin, most of them were made of mud and pottery. After the coins are cast, they are still just blanks, and there were still many uneven burrs on them. The next step is to polish. With so many coins, polishing one by one requires a great deal of time. the ancients thought a way, and they strung the money into a string so that a number of coins could be polished at one time. In order to prevent the coins from sliding during polishing, so the hole in the middle is cast into a square shape, and then strung with square iron strips will never slip. The whole of the money is square. The later generations also implicitly refer to money as brother square hole. Modern history architectural scenic area. Such buildings are different from ancient Chinese buildings, and the events and characters they witness are often familiar to modern Chinese people. Therefore, how to explain these kinds of buildings has become a new subject in the explanation of famous scenic spots. First, guide from the perspective of combination of Chinese and Western elements. For example, the architecture of the presidential palace in Nanjing. Its combination of Chinese and Western elements is not only reflected in the architectural layout, structure, and style, but also in the concept of Western body Chinese use. Secondly, introduce political figures and historical events objectively and fairly. Another characteristic of the modern architectural scenic area is that many of the people and events it involves are relatively closely linked to the contemporary Chinese politics. So, when explaining, we should respect history, make sure what we say is based on evidence, and try to explain according to the existing historical. The third point is to use the artistic perspective to guide. For instance, the Shanghai Bund, which is the most saturated place of Western-style buildings in China, can enable tourists to understand and know various elements, shapes, and style characteristics of Western architectural art. The modern business scenic area. Modern business scenic areas are generally take the novel shapes, magnificent modern buildings, first-class greening environment, and well-arranged and properly spaced spatial layout as the basic characteristics. Based on the characteristics of the modern business scenic area, the tour guide should proceed with the explanation from the following several aspects. Firstly, highlight the characteristics and development prospects. Secondly, highlight the world-class, iconic modern architectural landscapes. The difference in the sceneries between the modern business scenic area and the ordinary scenic area is that the modern business scenic area possesses world-class iconic modern buildings. Thirdly, use the explaining technique of contrast. The modern business scenic area is a completely new type of scenic area that has risen under the catalysis of the new economy. The focus of the tour guide's explanation of such scenic areas should be placed on its today and tomorrow. The focal point of the modern style formed by one historical the most after another. The method of contrast is the most suitable technique for explaining this kind of landscape. The fourth is to highlight the most of history. The sceneries of the modern business scenic area contain countless the most in the world and in China. Only when tourists are aware of this the most can they better understand and recognize the value of these world-class iconic buildings. Fifth, to understand from the economic perspective. It is the epitome and window of the economic prosperity and development of a region or even a country. Sixth, explore the cultural connotations. Make every effort to avoid digital explanation. Well, that's all for today's introduction to the famous scenic spots. Goodbye.